Good day and welcome, friends. Crazy Chris 576 here on Subnautica to show you something that I have lovingly dubbed my vanity project. This is something that I started at the behest of my Twitch chat because they enjoy seeing me put myself in situations that are dangerous and can cause them some entertainment. And as time went on, it took on a life of its own, and now we are here in the dunes, considered to be one of the most dangerous biomes in all of Subnautica, in my base that is essentially an observation post for every Leviathan-class creature in the dunes. Every single one. And I'm going to take you on a little walking tour of this base that we have. I don't even know if it can really qualify as a base because it's really just a series of tubes, but that is what we are going to do today. And we are starting here in the southernmost section of the dunes at this Reaper Leviathan. The first of 8 Reaper Leviathans that there are in the dunes, and the main reason why the dunes are considered to be as dangerous as they are. So we have observatories at every single location that we have for observing Leviathans of any type, and I'm going to take you to each one of them. Fair warning, because of the size of this base, most of this video is just going to be us running from point to point through the glass tubes here with the little lights flashing overhead. So hopefully that is not something that is visually disturbing for you. So, fair warning, there are some spoilers if you consider spoiler content in the same way that the Subnautica subreddit considers spoilers, in that we will be seeing one of the juvenile Sea Emperor Leviathans and some ancient ghost Leviathans in this base as well, in addition to the 8 Reapers that we get out here in the dunes. But if that's not something that bothers you, I hope that you will hang out with us here. We'll get to him in just a minute. So, how this project started is essentially I was told by my chat that they wanted me to build a glass house under some Leviathans. And I decided to take up the challenge and built one observatory under one of the Reapers in the dunes here. And it then morphed into something entirely different, as you guys can see out here. So this observatory that we're in right now is actually for our one and only friend, which is hard to see out there because of all of the other fish and all of the bubbles and particle effects that you get out here in the water when you're this deep under in Subnautica. But out here, coming a little bit closer to us now, we have the juvenile Sea Emperor Leviathan, who has turned around and is now just kind of gracefully floating about. She might come back this way, but that is our one and only friend out here in the dunes, and also the source of one of my only complaints in Subnautica, if you can even call it a complaint. It's very, very minor, but I really do wish that there was a way to interact with the adult Sea Emperor Leviathan in the primary containment facility, as well as the juveniles out here in the water. Those of you that have played Subnautica Below Zero know that you can interact with the glow whales in Subnautica Below Zero, which are some of the only friendly Leviathan-class creatures in Subnautica Below Zero. You can touch them and you can even ride them when you're in the water in Below Zero. No such ability to do that or even to scan the Sea Emperor or the juvenile Sea Emperors. But again, very, very minor complaint. She is just kind of chilling, doing her thing, which is what she does. Just kind of floating about there. So we'll leave her to her devices. But yeah, that is our only friend out here. Oh, okay, here she comes. She's coming back. Yeah, this is our only friend out here in the dunes. The only Leviathan that we can trust not to try and immediately eat us. So now we can come over to this angry fellow here. This Reaper and the one in the very far south and one other one that's actually much further north are the 3 highest in elevation in the dunes. This guy is at a usual height of about 220 to 230. The one up there way up, down in the south, that is the highest elevation Reaper at an elevation of 116 meters. He was not looking forward to seeing us right there. But that's fine. We'll get more into why that happened in just a little bit. But yeah, the one down there in the south is the highest elevation at about 116 meters. And then there's one way up in the north that's at an elevation of about 200 meters. So this portion of the base is elevated solely because of the one way down in the south that's at 116. The rest of the Reapers can all be seen pretty comfortably down at this depth of 309, which is where we started this base. And I only ever intended it to be one level, but when it took on the life of its own of being an observation point for every Leviathan in the dunes, I had to make the second level for that one Reaper that's way down in the south. So this guy out here, right here, he patrols in and around this little geyser area and also makes life very difficult for getting to this small wreck here, as well as one of the other ones that we'll get to in just a second. But this is probably the one that people encounter the least, or second least, of any Reaper in the dunes. And there we also see one of the most well-known and defining characteristics of the Reaper Leviathan, the ability to just swim through the floor at will, chasing after prey. And it's probably one of the things that I've observed the most while I've been out here in this base is Reapers going after sand sharks or warpers or other prey and just going straight through the terrain, not even caring about textures, just going right on through and then coming right back out to get back into their patrol zones. I did equip this base with 3 scanner rooms. There's one here, and then there's 2 in the main area that we're going to get to in just a second. Partially to track the Reapers, obviously, and also to track resources that we would need for collection for building this base, because this base, as you can imagine, required a lot of quartz with the amount of glass that we put into this base. Just in what we've seen alone, never mind what's still to come. This is the westernmost Reaper in the dunes. You can see right here, this is actually the edge of the map, although surprisingly, not with the beginning of the void. The void doesn't actually begin until much further out, which we'll get to right now. But yeah, this guy just kind of patrols out here. Also one of the ones that you will encounter the least most frequently, if that's a correct term to use. So this branch right here that we're headed down is going into the void to give us an observation for the ancient ghost leviathans, since we are on the border of the void, and it does give us the opportunity to interact with them as other Leviathan-class creatures. But the void doesn't actually start, even though you can see we are well above where the map would logically end. The void doesn't start until about here. So, it's very strange. Nonetheless, we are out here in the void, and those of you who have been out in the void know what happens when you come out into the void. You get the ancient ghost leviathan spawning and coming at you, and it leads to one of the coolest and most amusing, is the word I'll use, interactions that you'll see between creatures and man-made structures in Subnautica. So, if you have been out here, you know the ancient ghost leviathans, when they spawn, are programmed to do one of 2 things: either kill you or push you back into the main map. That is their directive that they will do with all possible abandon, regardless of circumstances. Problem is, in Subnautica, predatory creatures are programmed not to attack you unless they are tracking you. When you enter a structure, they will not attack you unless they have already been tracking you at the point that you enter the structure. So in this case, because we're already inside the structure, they actually can't damage the structure itself because they did not begin tracking us when we were outside. So basically, they will just charge us like this and then just bounce off. It's very funny, honest, if I'm being honest, because of how scary and dangerous the ghost leviathans are in general when you're out and about in the water. And to have them be rendered completely impotent while you're here inside of your observatory is honestly pretty funny. And it's also a really cool opportunity just to observe these creatures in some way. Because, you know, obviously when you are out in the water and, you know, these guys are trying to kill you, it's very hard to, you know, observe them and appreciate them for their design, because they are actually very beautiful creatures, if also terrifying. The design on the Ghost Leviathans is very unique and very cool. So being able to look at them in this safe setting is something that I can definitely appreciate. So yeah, so they will continue to follow you around and do what they do, and then obviously as soon as you get back inside of the main map, they will despawn, like that guy just did, swimming right into the patrol path of that Reaper that we were just looking at a few minutes ago. I don't think that there's ever a point in the game where Reapers and Ghost Leviathans ever interact with each other. I would love to see what would happen in that case. It'd be a very interesting fight between apex predators. So now we're going to head to the northern portion of the base. I guess it's half of the base. I mean, in terms of actual units of structure, the southern portion of the base probably required more materials and has more units to it. But in terms of actual distance covered, it's pretty even from north to south. Now, we're going to pass underneath the second Reaper that we saw, the very angry boy up here. We used to have the observation point for him right here where this curve is, but once I built the second level, I decided that it's actually better to see him from up there. So that is why we got the that Reaper up in the top deck observation. So this guy that we're coming up on right here in front of us, who we can't see right now because of the daytime-nighttime cycle in the game, is actually our very first subject of observation and the initial reason for building this base. When I first started this, it was just a single tube that went out from the starting point of the base that we'll see in just a minute to the observatory right there that you can see. And that was all there was. It was just a one glass tube. And I built that whole segment on stream for my chat to see, and it was a fun little bit that they enjoyed, because it was interesting to see what it was like to be right underneath the Reaper and have things like that happen, where it just literally roars right in your face. There's actually a very cool clip from when I first built this observation point of the Reaper passing right overhead and just kind of staring at us as he passed overhead, giving us the death stare. So we can't see this guy right now, obviously, because of the nighttime cycle, but this patrol zone is about 100 meters in front of us and extends all the way to about here. Right below us is the crater where you can find one of the cuttlefish eggs. Of the 5 that are in the game, the one that's in the dunes is normally found in a crater that is right below us there. Which obviously, with a Reaper patrolling immediately above it, makes retrieving that particular cuttlefish egg a bit of a challenge. But yeah, oh, there he is. Yeah, you just see his little shadow here. So, this Reaper, he sticks mostly to this area, but I've seen him actually go up this direction and even go along this side, the other side of the tube, the right side of the tube here, all the way up underneath this branch and come all the way up towards the dune that is right in front of us. There's another dune that rises up into the mushroom forest. This is directly to the northeast of us. And he will come sometimes all the way out there and go after the sand sharks that kind of mill about in that section of the dunes. So those are our other 2 scanner rooms here in this section of the base, and this here is what makes this whole base possible. This is literally just a stack of multi-purpose rooms that I used entirely for the purposes of structural integrity. There is a nuclear reactor on the bottom level of this stack, and then the moon pool that houses our prawn suit comes off of the 4th level. I think it's 19 levels high in total. And apart from the one extension out into the rest of the tubes and the one extension for the moon pool, every single other surface on these multi-purpose rooms is a structural integrity plate. And is the only thing that allows this base to exist without it flooding all the time. I showed that to a friend of mine who is an engineer for his IRL job, and he was left a little bit dumbfounded at it because obviously that shouldn't be how the structural integrity of the base works. But that's Subnautica for you. And it's one of the reasons why this game is so much fun. So because of the nighttime cycle still being active right now, we're going to come to this observation point a little bit later, the one going off to the right here. That is the only observation point that actually covers 2 Reapers at once. So we'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to come back to that once we've got a little bit more daytime. And we'll also go to this section off to the left once the daytime starts to come back. For now, this is our 2nd observation point in the void that we are walking into right now, which will again give us a look at the ancient ghost leviathans. That habitat restored is for another one of my bases, not for this one. But yeah, this is the one that I actually built first. I built this observatory out into the void first, early on in the life of this base, because I wanted to see what would happen if we had a base out in the void. Because I had actually seen someone drop down to near bottom level of what is sustainable in the game. I think close to 1,700 meters, and build a base out there. And it was interesting to see the screenshots that they had of the ancient ghost leviathans out there. So I decided, why not try that in the confines of this base? And lo and behold, here we are. I don't know what's going on with this guy here, why he is just stuck and just kind of spinning circles on himself. Okay, there we go. Now he's fixed himself. So yeah, this was how we figured out that being out here was safe and that the ghosties could not hurt us while we were out here, and we could kind of watch them and observe them and listen to their very disturbing sound effects. Visual design on the Ghost Leviathans, top tier. Sound design on the Ghost Leviathans? Creepy AF. But nonetheless, it is still fun to watch them. So. That is the second void observation point. And we will now go back to the Reaper observation points. Go to this one here, to the Reaper that is off in this northwest corner. I know it looks like we're going west-southwest here, but this is actually the northwest corner of the dunes that we are walking towards right now. And this Reaper is actually the second highest in-depth elevation of all the Reapers in the dunes. The guy that we're going to be seeing here, which now that it's becoming light, we'll be able to get a good view of his patrol path. He normally sits between 200 and 220 meters, but if he locks onto something that is prey, he'll dip down sometimes as low as 250 or 260. And you can kind of see him there. His silhouette is kind of showing. As it gets lighter, it'll be much easier to see him. But if I had been able to build that upper level all the way out here without it being an absolute eyesore obstruction, I would have, but it just wouldn't have worked well. So this is what we have for this particular Reaper, which is fine, because again, he will dip down sometimes to be in closer view if he locks onto something that is prey. And you know, obviously, as you can see here, as the daytime light gets a little bit more prominent, it gets easier to see his silhouette. You can see right there. Again, the particle effects for the other fish and the bubbles and everything else that's going on in the water make it a little bit difficult to see in the video render, but you get the idea, and you can still hear him also. So that is this Reaper here, and then we will head back to our other observation point, which is the dual observation point for the last two Reapers in the dunes. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, the resource requirements of this base are immense, and some of you may be wondering how it is that I managed to acquire everything that I needed for this base. A lot of very careful mining is my answer to you on that. But there was also a lot of prep work that went into it when I first started this project, because I knew how much glass it was going to need. I pretty much mined out the entire Lost River and most of the inactive lava zone for all the quartz I could find. It was a challenge, to say the least. So here we come to this observation point. You can see this one Reaper here off on our right. And then there's another one in front of us and slightly to the left. These two Reapers, yep, there he is right there. These two Reapers have the closest patrol zones of any two Reapers in the dunes. And I've tried on a couple of occasions and actually succeeded in getting screenshots of the two of them intersecting their patrol paths, usually right around here, right above this little hill. These two Reapers also love chasing warpers. You can see this guy just went right into the dirt, and he was going after that warper there. They will chase the warpers all over the place. There's that warper there, and that warper that just warped out over there. They will chase those warpers all over the place and try everything in their power to grab them and eat them. We'll also go after sand sharks a fair amount too. But yeah, these two guys are the closest pairing of Reapers in the dunes. And that is our glass house. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I don't know how frequently I'm going to be posting content. on my YouTubes, but I will do my best to have some content for you guys on a semi-regular basis. May not always be Subnautica, there will also be other games featured on the channel, but I'll do my best to keep it entertaining for you guys. And if you like what you saw here, please be sure to come over and check me out over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/crazychris576, as you can see me there much more regularly for all of the gameplay that will likely be the basis for a lot of the videos that appear on this channel. So, thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be safe and be well, and have a good one.